live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com. This is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
John, you often hear people say, well, they're charging tax on tax. A lot of people don't believe that. Well, I've done some digging, and it's true. Now, listen to this. First of all, your income is taxed, right? Okay, and then almost everything you buy is taxed all again. So they're taxing you on money that's already been taxed, and then they are charging HST on top of the carbon tax. Let me go through that. So we're paying tax on tax money and tax on tax. It's a fact, folks. And I've got it here. I've got it right here because I have my Enbridge bill that proves it. Here's the bill here. There's the bill. I'm going to go through it very quickly. It's easy to understand. This is in light of the fact that our standard of living continues to drop in this country. The inflation rate in April soared to 6.8%. Well, I think it's a lot higher than that, but it is the highest, even if you accept that figure. It's the highest it has been in Canada for 31 years. Beautiful, beautiful. And never forget, folks, an increase in inflation means a drop in our standard of living. A lot of governments don't want to hear that. Look, the more you have to pay for items, the less you have to buy some of the other things. Our standard of living drops as the inflation rate rises. Now, there are some who claim it's all a matter of greed. And there's no question. The profits of some companies are up dramatically. But let me tell you, nobody is profiting more from rising inflation than our federal and provincial governments, in particular, federal government. Federal government is not only raking in record profits as the price of almost everything continues to soar, but they're using what I believe to be a form of fraud in order to do it. Let me explain. Let me provide you with a personal example of what I'm talking about. Keep in mind, Trudeau is robbing and cheating the Greens here on Spruce Ridge Road, which means that if he's cheating Debbie and I, if he's cheating the Greens on Spruce Ridge Road, he's cheating you. And that is if you have to eat and cool your home. Let me just go through this, okay? Here is my Enbridge bill for natural gas that we burned during April. I'll hold it there to tell you. I don't know if you can. Oh, sorry. There it is. There's the figure. I don't know if you can make it out or not, but let me explain. As you can see, the total bill, this is for the month of April, very cold month, $326.26. Of that bill, a total of $99.79 is tax. The federal carbon tax is $62.36. The HST is $37.43. So as you can see, almost $100 of that bill is tax, one form or the other. Almost a third of our total bill, and yours too. Because if they're charging a third of our heat bill for tax, then they're doing the same to you. Well, unless some of you are being treated a little bit differently, but I don't think so. Essentially, on your heating bill, if you're using Enbridge, now I'm not dealing with electricity, I'm dealing with gas. Just one example, okay? But if you're heating with natural gas, they are charging you about 1/3 of the total cost of that gas tax to stay alive. I mean, we've got to heat our homes, right? We got to heat our homes in a climate like Canada's. So they're charging you 1/3 of the cost of staying alive in tax. That's bad enough. It's a total ripoff as far as I'm concerned. How the hell they can charge one third tax to heat your home? I mean, to me, that borders on the criminal. We don't have a choice. We've got to heat our homes. Damn them. Taxing you and me almost a third of our heating costs, in my opinion, borders on the criminal. Heating your home in a bitter winter weather in this country is necessary to stay alive. Am I right or wrong? But it doesn't end there. The thievery doesn't end there. Stay with me, okay? Listen to this. The carbon tax on our bill is $62.36. Highway robbery. What the hell am I paying a carbon tax for? It's I mean, don't tell me that somehow or other this lowers the emission. It's nonsense. Of a bill of $325, $62.36 is carbon tax. That's not the end of the tax. What really grinds my gut is the fact that you and I are being charged 13% HST on top of the carbon tax. Yes, we are. I've done the math. Listen to this. Do you know? Okay, this is one household. Carbon tax, $62.36. 13% HST is charged on the carbon tax. That's $8.10. So on one bill for 1 month, one household in Canada, we are being charged $8.10 tax on money that's already been taxed. The sons of bitches. Sorry to be so rude, so crude, but that's a fact. I can't think of a better way to express it. They, we're operating with money that's already been taxed, a brutal tax rate, taxed again, and then taxed on the tax. Now you may say, "Oh, well, you know, $8 for tax on tax is not that great." Well, I mean, that's about $100 a month in this house, tax on just on one tax. You figure the millions of homes, and I mean, we're talking certainly hundreds of millions of dollars in tax on the carbon tax just for heating. I mean, it's unbelievable. So when you talk greed, hard to find anybody greedier than the federal government of Canada. And the provincial governments are raking this in too because they get a chunk of the HST, right? And don't forget, the higher the rate, the higher the more the carbon tax, the greater the HST. Greed, but as I say, think of the millions of homes. Now, in our home, we're just an ordinary. There's not a big place here, just an ordinary house. But I'm an older guy, so I like I've got to be warm. So do we all. So do we all. So our heating bill is quite expensive. There's no question about it. We also heat. I think a lot of the expense actually with gas in our house is we use gas to heat our water. So all of the water is heated, and that's with gas. But at any rate, whatever it is, whether it's you, me, or the man in the moon, we are paying about one third of our heating costs in tax. And they are taxing, the buggers are charging us tax on tax. They're charging us carbon tax, which is a totally artificial tax imposed solely only by Trudeau, and they're charging HST on top of that. Uh, I have no idea. In our house, the tax on heating alone is over $1,000. Now you figure, okay, $1,000 in tax. That's just for heating gas, okay? Now of that, about $100 is tax on tax. But think of the millions of homes. If every home was paying $1,000 a year in tax just to heat, think of the billions and billions of dollars they're raking in. Well, think of the billions of dollars in carbon tax. If we're paying $62 a month in carbon tax, just think of the billions of dollars they're sucking in on carbon tax across the country. And keep this in mind, please. What I'm talking about here. Excuse me, the old throat gives out. What I'm talking about here is only a very tiny little fraction of the total tax burden that we're saddled with. Okay, the tax to heat and cool your home is about one third the total cost, but you're paying the gas bill with money that's already been taxed. and then they tax you on top of the tax. Unbelievable. Think of it. Taxed on income, taxed again to heat your home, then taxed again on the tax, tax on tax on tax. The buggers. And for this, well, we say, well, it's a good country. Yeah, it is. But what are we getting? Are we getting value for our tax dollar? They now tell us that we have probably the worst healthcare system in the G7, one of the worst healthcare systems in the G20. Longer wait times, fewer doctors per capita, fewer hospital beds per capita, etc., and getting worse. We certainly learned that during the pandemic. So our tax dollars aren't working too well there. The education system, most of the people agree it's falling way behind, particularly the education system in many European and Asian countries. Uh, uh, so, are we getting value? If we were getting good value, then maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But you tell me where we're getting value for all of this money. And as far as the carbon tax is the carbon footprint lessening in this country? No. Have our emissions gone down because of it? No. So what's it for? It's to feed the greedy appetite, particularly of the Trudeau government. Ah, and by the way, I got into the business of tax on gasoline yesterday. Some people arguing, well, it's not the most expensive in the world. Well, I'm going to tell you, if it's not the most expensive, it's damn close to it. But one of the problems, of course, is the price fluctuates on a daily basis everywhere. So sorry, but it's getting. But let me tell you this. I've done a little factoring here, and you can do your own factoring. I'm always urging you to do that. You remember the old days when we used to buy gasoline by the gallon, John? I think at one point we could buy. This is the imperial gallon. Don't forget, bigger than the U.S. gallon.
Right.
And I think we were buying at one point gasoline at about 50 cents a gallon, right?
It's about right. I mean, that was my youth, but yeah, I remember, driving up and down Maryville Road with mom and dad. Yeah, it was around 56, less than 60 cents anyway.
Do you know that imperial gallon of gas today would cost you close to $9? Do the math. They say this is progress. All of this, most of this, don't forget for one thing, green energy. And so, as usual, I bring you up to date on how our money is being spent there. Somewhere between $7 and $10 billion so far invested in windmills and solar panels. Today, wind and solar combined is contributing 6.56% of our needs. Still hasn't reached 10%. $7 to $10 billion. 5, 6 state, just for Ontario, 5 to 6 brand new state of the art hospitals. Could hire over 3,000 nurses, give them all a big raise. Hire about 4,000 people working in long-term care, etc., and give them a big raise. But instead of that, we built windmills. We got windmills. We got a healthcare system that's crumbling, an education system that's not up to par. Roads are no great hell, but by God, we got windmills. John, what have we got so far?
We have got Paul in Canada on the phone at 613-413-2217. Paul, welcome to the show. You are on Live with Lowell Green. Go ahead, sir.
Paul, what do you think of all of this, sir? Where does it end?
Yeah, it's pretty depressing outlook. I agree, Lowell, and I think like we're clearly spending too much. We're digging a bigger hole for ourselves, and it just seems like it's never going to end. But one thing that I thought about, actually, see what you think, but I think actually, like the federal government never talks about debt anymore. They talk about debt to GDP ratio, and which kind of implies they're completely giving up on ever actually paying off part of our debt. So I think actually the federal government, in a way, is kind of happy to have inflation because it increases the GDP number, and this debt to GDP number tends to go down under that circumstance.
Absolutely.
And also even the value of the Canadian dollar, when it goes down, our GDP in terms of Canadian dollars goes up, and that helps that ratio as well.
Good
but
for
surely
you.
surely this is a house of cards that we're building that's going to, like, this can't go on forever, and it's going to collapse. And what I'm tired of is hearing how, oh, we're a rich country, we can do this. I'm not sure we're a rich country anymore, to be honest.
Well, keep in mind, people forget. It's all very well. We can saddle our children, grandchildren, great grandchildren with this huge debt, now well over $1 trillion federally, over $2 trillion when you factor in provincial debt. But we got to pay the interest. And right now, the interest on the federal debt alone is about $2 billion a month. Every single month, we are taking $2 billion out of our economy, out of your pocket, Paul, out of mine, out of Debbie's, and we are giving it to rich people because I don't think you're loaning governments money, right? I know I don't. So I mean, it's rich institutions, the banks, the insurance companies, the big bond companies. They're the ones we're taking money from ordinary working class people, carpenters, plumbers, electricians, etc. We're taking money from them and we're giving it to rich people, $2 billion a month. That's one brand new state of the art hospital every single month we are paying out to rich people and rich organizations. Paul, thank you. You know what, sir? I really appreciate you. You've done some thinking on it. You're absolutely right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lowell. Bye.
Thank you. John, what have we got?
All right, again, the number here, 613-413-2217. We're streaming live on Facebook. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. You're on Twitter as well. Wherever you would ordinarily post your comment, do that. Also, if you would, please give the show a share on your social media channel and get the word out. Peter says, it's disgusting about all the taxes and then being taxed on tax. That should be deemed illegal. Pierre needs to put this on his top 10 things to fix list.
You know what? See, I said that I think some of this borders on fraud. I think creating a new tax called the carbon tax, that's bad enough. No justification for it whatsoever. No benefits whatsoever that I can see for the Canadian people to this tremendous tax. But then to charge tax on top of the tax, you create a brand new tax and then you tax the tax. That to me is, I think that borders on fraud. I really do. Thank you very much for writing that. Go ahead, John.
613-413-2217. Here is somebody who works in the auto business. And he says, environmental fees that you pay on purchasing new tires is an actual tax. And there's also 13% tax on top of that. So, yes, we are being taxed on tax on tax.
And it's the same thing with gasoline. I just because we got this Enbridge bill and I got the proof right in front of me here. And I did the math because just to make sure that, in fact, they were charging the GST on the $62 carbon tax. Yes, they are. It's tax on tax. But actually, it's tax on tax on tax. This is money that we've already been taxed. Go ahead, John.
613-413-2217. Another person texts in to write, you are playing all this carbon tax, Lowell, but as Freeland stated in the House, most families get a lot of this back at the end of the year in their income tax return, which I doubt is true. Haven't really looked into it.
But by the way, okay, so I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
I forgot to mention one thing. You know this rebate we get? I got on a total bill that with tax comes to $325.28. I got what's called a cost adjustment, $2.31. So they charged me $99, almost $100 tax, but they gave me back $2.31. That's the rebate. It's right there. It's right there. If you look at it, you see it. Cost adjustment, $2.31 credit. Trudeau's a liar. Go ahead, John.
What is a cost adjustment? Does it define what that is?
That's the rebate. That's the money that they're supposed to rebate. They're going to rebate for the carbon tax. They said that, well, we'll give you back. So that's what they've given me back on a total tax bill of $99 and something. They've given me back $2.31 as a rebate. That's the big rebate that Trudeau's been boasting about. It's a freaking lie. Go ahead, John.
Let's go to Facebook. JP says, never met a Liberal that didn't like taxes. Ann chimes in to say, don't forget the Liberals, are looking into taxing principal residences and our savings/investments. Glenn says, is it constitutional under Canadian law to charge taxes on taxes?
Well, obviously, I mean, the government's doing it. It's not just on heating. I'm sure they're doing the same thing for electricity. I'm sure they're doing this. I know they're doing the same thing with gasoline. Have a look at the taxes on a liter of gas. We're now the total taxes on a liter of gas is now about 50 cents. It's unbelievable. But go ahead.
Let's go to a comment Kirk posted. He's in Newfoundland. He says $10.25 here in Newfoundland for Imperial gallon. I mean, they make it right there.
So I said it's about $9 on the average at $2 a liter. We're looking for an imperial about $9 a gallon. But in Newfoundland, he says how much is it? $10?
10.25.
10.25. This is
Wow.
progress, folks. This is progress. This is what. So my question to you, and I know that I have liberals out there. Sometimes people give me hell. You're trying to blackmail this Trudeau and so forth. Okay, let me ask you, liberals and NDP, when does it end? How does it end? That's all I'd like to know. When is it over? How do we pay the debt? And by the way, how do you like paying $2 billion a month in debt servicing and interest charges? Let me ask you, liberals and NDP and the Green Party, don't you think we'd be better off with a brand new hospital in this province every single month rather than paying off insurance companies and banks' interest? You telling me you'd sooner give $2 billion a month to the banks than to build a hospital? Really? Okay. What the hell? I mean, what do I know? Yeah, I'm a conservative. John, I got to take a moment here to talk about our good friends up there in Pakenham.
Yes, you do.
Haven't been to Pakenham recently. Um, we've lost a number of birds. We've had a bit of tragedy out in our birdhouse, our chicken coop. Which, by the way, and I can't get into this now, the federal government is partially responsible. Believe it or not, okay. And those people who raise chickens and pigeons know what I'm talking about. But aside from that, so we haven't been up to Pakenham, but they're still there. I check out the prices every single day, and once again, I just want to assure you, at least, at least give Shields a chance. And they're being bombarded with big ads, great big ad, full page ads from Bad Boy and all the big box stores. Well, Shields doesn't. They don't do. They haven't got that kind of money. They're just there's a local store, local family operated business. But if they can deliver in 2 or 3 days, same product you can get at a big stock box store. If they can match the price and maybe beat the price, why would you not give them a chance at it? They're local. They're family. They're good people. Shields, SCHEELS.ca. Check them out. That's all I ask. Check them out, folks. You'll see what I'm saying. Go ahead, John.
So my mother-in-law is a huge fan of yours and listens all the time in Sussex, New Brunswick. She's looking for a new stove. Do you know how badly she would love to have a Shields there? She just wants a basic coil top oven that works. I found one on Shields. Went to the website, typed it in, bam, first thing that came up. So we may end up hanging on to the chuck a little longer just to get one out to you there, Barb. All right, here we go. Let's go back to Facebook. Joshua, it's also criminal, let's not forget, there's been talk of trying to tax those who heat by burning wood. Oh, right, those emissions, says Joshua. Carl says, wait till you start heating your pool. What do you heat your pool with, Lowell? Is it gas?
Well, gas, yeah. Oh, we know. I mean, our gas bill this year will be close to $4,000. But I understand heating the pool is a luxury.
It is.
But at 85 and everything I've accomplished in life, I feel it's a little, I don't travel. I can't travel anymore. So I got a nice pool. Go ahead.
Over to Twitch, twitch.tv/blast the radio. Terry says, apparently Stephen Del Duca signed a form to keep all of his pledges. Remember when Dalton signed a form for the Taxpayer Federation not to raise taxes?
I was there. Yes, I do. Yes. And then I'll never forget, I had Dalton come in. He's got this sign thing. So, and he brings it with him to show me. He's made all of these promises and he's signed it. Except when he comes back, he hasn't made any of these promises whatsoever. I'll never forget, I pinned him down. He was talking about all the jobs that have been created. And he talked about there was supposed to be 600 or 300 job, whatever, at Tilsonburg. They got this thing. Oh, wait a minute. I checked with Tilsonburg. They don't know anything about this. I talked with the city clerk in Tilsonburg, Ontario, and said, have you got a big plant there making windmill blades? No. Well, there's an abandoned planter. I saw a guy out here cutting the grass. I told
Right.
Dalton this, and he just what could he do? Just lying through his teeth. Go ahead.
Well, you're supposed to preface any comedy you're doing on the air by alerting your audience that you're doing comedy on the air. The nerve of you.
Oh God.
Hey, Lowell, here's a question. Do you know offhand, roughly, even ballpark it, what the average Canadian pays in taxes when we combine federal, provincial, local, things we buy, etc.? What percentage of our income
The
would go
Fraser
in
Institute
taxes?
out there in BC does a very good job on this, and they now have determined that tax costs us, the average Canadian, more than food and clothing combined. The tax today is the biggest single expense for the average Canadian, well over 50%. Well
See,
over 50% of our income in one way or another goes out in taxes.
I've been using roughly, anytime I have a conversation about it, I've been using roughly 42. I believe that it's over 50. I mean, it's time for somebody to stand up and say, if the governments in this country cannot make do with 30% of all the income that a Canadian makes, then that government needs to get out of the business of being in government.
Well, and I keep pounding on this until people are getting sick of it, I'm sure. The huge mistake that we've made here, and they've done much the same in Europe, is they have invested billions, tens of billions, trillions of dollars in total on green energy, and it has been a total disaster. I mean, they're finding to their chagrin that wind and solar just can't do the job. They've got to have backup, and in the case of Europe, the backup is Russian oil and gas. Beautiful, right?
I'm all
But
for doing the right thing, but this switch one off and move to the other right away. Why is it not a gradual transition? Why
well,
is this suddenly being rammed down
but
our throat?
what they're forgetting, the answer to global warming, if you believe in it, there's certainly the answer to global emissions is technology. Technology is catching up very, very quickly. We have major measures now of capturing CO2 and burying it, and buried it turns to stone. It's totally inert. But there are now great experiments underway to convert CO2 into useful fuel, for example. And this is only a few months maybe away, or a year or so away. Technology, science is the answer, not tax. And Pierre has said this, and I've talked to Pierre, and there's a great deal of research, and I wrote about this in my book. And MIT has found not only methods of capturing CO2, which we've known for a long time, but has now found ways of adding another chemical to render the gas CO2 totally inert. And in some cases, they have been able to create a fuel which itself emits no emissions. This is just a matter of time. Science is going to solve this, folks. The answer is science, technology. It's not tax. You're not going to tax your way out of CO2. You're going to have science do it for us. Go ahead, John.
Let's go to a text here, 613-413-2217. This is from Bruce in Harrow, Ontario. He says, our governments are taxing us to eventual bankruptcy. One can see it coming when you consider our healthcare system, the sheer size of our civil service payrolls, lack of efficiency in all government operations, and the resulting smothering, choking government payrolls. Carbon tax in likely the cleanest country in the entire world is ridiculous. The carbon tax is nothing less than an elaborate income redistribution plan. Changing the existing administration is a small part of the answer.
Makes excellent, very good. Thank you. I just use as one example. We were promised when we went to light rail (LRT) that the number of bus drivers, would be reduced considerably, save us a lot of money. And as we talked about a couple of days ago, John, they've just announced they're going to hire 80 more drivers. I mean, you know what? By and large, people that we elect to look after our affairs, they just they can't do it. It's beyond them. They predicted, as I say, fewer and fewer drivers, and now we find out we got to hire more. This is the same story. They said that wind and solar would handle it today, as at 1 o'clock. Less than 6.5% was all it was producing. Yesterday, it was producing less than 5%. So but by this time, we've already spent billions and billions of dollars. This is why our healthcare system is crumbling. We invested in green energy rather than healthcare. Simple as that. John, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I don't see anybody thinking outside the box on this either. You know, you and I talked about the driver hiring spree about to happen at OC Transpo, and I watched 3 double-decker buses after 9 o'clock in the evening driving through my little neighborhood here in Blossom Park, completely empty.
Yeah, well, in
Not a
Canada, it's the
soul
same
on
thing.
board. I
Yeah,
know.
same thing in Canada.
I know.
Double deckers, and the twin, whatever you call them.
And we
It's
got the articulated. Yeah, we got a lot of comments that I still want to get to here. But, you know, I started thinking when watching the leadership debate the other night, and they're going on about this Highway 413 and tax. Why is nobody proposing something like, okay, if people really want to build Highway 14, they can invest in a government fund that is set up specifically for 413, and that investment can pay them in dividends, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Instead of taxing people and forcing something down their throats, how about the people who want it actually pay for it and actually contribute to it?
precisely. You know what? It's called tolling. You know, our ancestors had
There you
the
go.
answer. If you wanted to cross a bridge or
User
drive
fees.
yeah, it was toll. The user pay. You know, and why we're getting away from that, I have no idea. User pay. You want to use a new highway? You want to use a bridge? Okay, give us a couple of dollars. Simple as that. But another example here locally is city council absolutely refuses to examine, incineration for our garbage, which would pay for itself in about 10 years' time. John, we're right out of time. I won't be able. I've got an appointment tomorrow at the Heart Institute, so we won't be here tomorrow. But apparently, we may be able to do a show Friday. You're going to be doing what with drag queens up in Peterborough?
I'm doing the sound and lighting.
Are you a drag queen, John?
I have been a drag queen once or twice in my life for fun, but no, I'm doing the sound and lighting for a drag bingo event in Peterborough, and I'm pretty sure we can we won't be able to do the phone calls. So sorry to Paul and Canada. We were joking before we came on. Well, we're not getting a lot of calls anyway. We can do without the phone call, and then we get a phone call today. But we can certainly do the texts, etc. I'm going to do a test run on it tonight, Lowell. We should be able to get a show.
Okay, so no show tomorrow, but quite possibly on Friday. And John,
I will make it happen for you, sir.
John, you'd make a really nice drag queen. I think there's a future for you there.
Have you not seen the pictures, Lowell? I'm surprised it's taken this long for this to come up in conversation. I'll be honest.
A lot of fun. Thank you all. We'll be back hopefully on Friday.
Yes, sir.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green Podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green Podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.